the psalmist, David. So when you understand that once you start, you see yourself sitting in the God seat in triple darkness in the middle of nowhere, and you recognize and observe that position. You sitting in the center of creation. That's the mindset. You sitting in the center of creation and you creating everything. Okay, now you need to simplify the totality of creation. You got to bring it into your 3D model of yourself. I'm God pretending to be Rod. How am I supposed to behave as God in this 3D realm? This is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to rewrite who the system told me to be. I'm not going to be Rod. I'm going to be Morpheus Mysticus Magus. Morpheus Mysticus Magus is an alchemical name that was adopted by the character Rod in order to break free from the character Rod and become the embodiment of the liberating mind that I want to be, so that I can help other people liberate their mind. So
All right, family. Where my pictures at? All right. Shout out to the family out there. Shout out to everybody. That intro, that's my newest video on Patreon featuring Rod Hayes. Nice. And I'm actually gonna ask the good doctor. Let me introduce him first. Welcome to the platform again, Dr. Phil Valentine, the living legend. Welcome back to the platform.
Good to be here. Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Oh man, I'm very excited about tonight's show. Very, very excited about tonight's show. I think it's going to be very beneficial for everybody. Whoever's watching, I would say the best thing to do is to share this video to the ones you love. Also, share the link to the ones you love. Yeah, share the link and sharing the same thing. Text people, share the link, do whatever you got to do. But everybody need to see the show tonight. Doc, I want to start out right away with that intro. The name of the show is Mental Sorcery. I did a Patreon on Rod Hayes, and Rod Hayes said that he uses an alchemical name, an alchemical character to sort of tap into higher knowledge. That alchemical name distinguishes himself from the avatar Rod Hayes, and that allows for, I guess, a stronger connection to what he's trying to bring to this realm and manifest into 3D reality. I want to ask you, in terms of alchemical names, have you ever had and sometimes we call them nicknames and things like that, but the names we take on is one of the biggest form of magic we could do on ourselves, what we call ourselves. Do you have like an alchemical name that you call yourself, Doc, that sort of allows you to tap in stronger to prime source?
I have a mantra that I just have with my name.
Ooh.
And it's normally you don't give it out, but since we're in this very spiritual space, it's Sanu Jehudisa Akura Imhotep Il. Wow. So I just wake up in the morning and I speak to the other, because that's what we're speaking to, the other.
Right.
And the other is that overself, they used to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I want to tap in and make sure that I bring what it told me in sleep to my conscious state, and that connection, that verbal, residual, photonic, as well as audiographic connection by speaking the words that I call magic to me, which is Sanu Jehudisa Akura Imhotep Il. And what that does is Sanu, being that I am that, what it means is doctor and companion. Jehudi Sa means the son of Jehudi. And then Aku Ra, which is essentially the hidden one revealed. And Imhotep, of course, is a chant talking about Imhotep, being the master builder and the one who brought all things from the other realm to this realm and created it through the pyramid structures and the underground cities. And so we taught all about that the last 35 years. They're only now finding out that there's a whole estuary of canals and underground pillars and coils that are under the Great Pyramid.
Yeah.
Finally, that
Mm-hmm.
it was actually a gigantic capacitor, which we wrote in our book, The Wounded Womb. So all of what is now coming out
Hmm.
is something we've already known about for a long time. But you have a name that you could find one day. I woke up with that name that was given to me by my overself.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Excellent. Is your over self the same as what somebody will call higher self?
Yeah. The overself is that part that embraces you as the aura.
Hmm.
And the aura is your morphogenetic field. It's what's holding all the atoms that constitute your being together. So when you are dealing with your aura, you're dealing with a form holding field, which is called a morphogenetic field.
Hmm.
And that form holding field can be programmed so that it opens up a communication estuary between you and the higher self.
Indeed.
Mhm.
Indeed. Something else I was talking to you about on the phone, and I was also talking about with Rod on the Patriot video that we just did is the idea of, and I want to, begin with this, is the idea of, because the name of the show is Mental Sorcery, and the idea of automatic writing. And the reason why I brought that up, I was reading about, we've talked about this before to some extent, but Tesla in his journey.
I'm losing you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear
Yes,
me?
you were kind of fading back.
Okay. Yeah, Tesla in his writing said that at nighttime he would leave his notebook and pen by the side of his bed, and when he woke up, something wrote in his notebook.
Hmm.
And people were questioning, did the entity write it? And some people say it was like automatic writing. He was writing it in his dream state and didn't realize he was writing it. So I think this is something, and this is how he came up with some of his inventions.
Hmm.
So I think that this is a science that a lot of us could benefit from. So I want to ask you about the science of automatic writing and how beneficial you think it is into us tapping into what we need to bring and what our purpose in this realm, what we need to bring to this realm.
Well, let's first understand the man Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
Tesla, first of all, he was a celibate.
Mm-hmm.
He had no women. He didn't have sex. So
So,
he used all of his energy, all of his man fluids and man essences. He would practice that Kundalini energy. So when you're dealing with automatic writing, it's not you that's writing; it's the spark that actually activates the avatar.
right.
And again, I was speaking about that overself and that connection between you and what the aura becomes the conduit to that overself. The
Mm,
overself being that which you feed from consistently as it begins to condense down into the atmospheres that you are actually living in. But as I was speaking to you before about automatic writing, you have to be able to still your thoughts and be in the now. And everything that I was listening to the good brother speaking, that he's right on point. That you have to be in the now. You can't be in the when or back then. You can't be what might be. You have to be now.
mm,
And there is no past or future where you want to tap that information from. So if you have thoughts, if you're using your thoughts as the bridge, or if you're using your thoughts as a means to connect, then you're going to have a confusion. You're going to have a obstacle there. That obstacle will be your thoughts only existing in the past and actually projecting what might be in the future. So your thoughts are interfering with whatever you can get from that source naturally. So the first thing you have to learn to do when you want to deal with automatic writing is to completely subsume or get into the habit, not suppress, not to repress,
mm,
teach yourself to understand that thought gets into the way when you want to deal with spirituality.
mm.
Thought is a kind of a wild card. It becomes a almost like a free radical.
Mm-hmm.
So if thought is in the way, then thought, which is nothing more than a catalog of your past experiences, you can't bring that particular aspect of your being to the very moment that you wish to access that is outside of time, because thought and time are the same.
Mm-hmm.
So time is the fifth element. This is what we teach. That element essentially is what cohesively brings everything together in the third density so that everything may move and have its being in accordance with what mind and thought actually interacts with. There's the overmind, which is universal mind, and then there's the individuated mind, which we are participating in. So what you have to be able to do is to still that mechanical apparatus you call thought. And then when that happens and there's no thinking being involved, then the brain begins to look for things to attach itself to, because the brain is always looking for to feed itself with certain stimuli. Now, it depends on what type of stimuli you want that brain to pick up. Do you want to pick up the stimuli from everything that's been familiar with your physical self? Then you have to stop thought
Right.
to stop that. If you want to pick up that, when thought stops, now the brain begins to open up and
Mm-hmm.
look for other forms of stimuli. Then it goes into the category of memory. And then you start thinking about, was the stove off? Or did I turn off the stove? Or did I forget to call? Did I pay a bill? That gets in the way because the thought is always trying to drag you back in. Without you focusing on thought, thought dies. It begins to feel that it is being left out. Thought is a living thing. You've given it that particular type of life by the amount of things that you've focused into thought. It becomes a container, and that container feels trapped. Once you leave it, it becomes like a child or a dog or a puppy that you leave. It starts screaming at you. Pay attention to me. So once you understand how thought works and you know that it's mechanical, and you be able to shut the thinking process down, now you're open up to incredible things that the universe will give to you. And then you can do your automatic writing because the avatar now is under control of the overself rather than your thought process.
With the whole thought thing, a lot of people, I don't know why my picture keeps disappearing. A lot of people would say that thought, you got thought and you got Thoth. From Thoth, we got thought from Thoth. Now, if we learn to shut down the thought, does that energy, I noticed in your alchemical name, you use the Jehuti.
Mhm.
Does that energy of Thoth disappear from this realm as well once we learn to shut down the thought? Do
Well,
those two
yeah,
exist simultaneously?
yeah, that's a good way. But you have to learn the language, and there's only certain language that would access that particular realm.
Right.
Now, I would never use Thoth because Thoth is essentially a Greco-Roman name,
Uh,
Jehudi.
uh,
So when you use Jehuti,
mm-hmm.
then you're tapping into the Akasha, where the resonance of your ancestors' voices that actually created the true magic, you're tapping into their consciousness stream. Otherwise, if you're using words like Thoth or um, Horus or any of these Roman names, these are derivatives. They don't pack as much power. So
Uh,
when the sound or the resonance that created the gateways to our ancestors' higher spirituality, these were natural sounds that came to them. These are sounds that nature and Father Spirit fed to them and helped them to create in the form of language. If you're using other people's derivatives, then you're not tapping into the original source. So
mm-hmm.
if I'm saying, Unkulunkulu, or if I'm saying Jehudi, or I'm calling out to Ra, Ra, then I'm speaking their language, and then the Akasha resonates to that. Whereas if I'm doing like a Jehudi, it's like a knockoff. Horus is a knockoff. Thoth is a knockoff. Just like talk became Mercury. You wouldn't call Mercury the god Mercury the same thing. So you're not tapping into magic is resonance. Magic is vibration.
Right.
And when you speak a word, the magic is in how the word was formed and the mindset that went into it, and how pure that mindset was when it picked up that particular resonating signal to call it Jehudi. Because Jehudi actually came before Amen.
Wow.
Jehudi was the god that was worshipped way before Amen was actually worshipped.
Right. Wow. Speaking of resonance, let me show you something real quick, and I got a question for you. I got it from Instagram, so I'm hoping you're able to see it, Doc, and I hope the family's able to see it. Let me show it.
Okay.
We call number 1 1.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Huh?
Let me rewind that, family. Hold up.
Okay. You bring it up a little more.
Yeah, I'm bringing
We
up.
call number 1 1.
I don't know.
Huh? Why we call number 1 1?
Number one?
Yeah, why we call it 1?
I don't know. Because it's the first one.
Now, it is the numbers were
Can you hear it?
when they were invented.
Yes.
They were the number of angle.
Yeah.
How many angle in one?
One.
1.
Yeah.
This is number 2.
Yeah. Two angle. Number three.
3.
Three angle. Four angle. Yeah.
5.
angle.
This is the way the numbers were invented.
Yeah.
So they were
Square.
made
It's always
squares.
square.
Yes. Yes.
Not the circle.
7. 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah.
So the 0 actually, which was invented.
So I want to. Well, hold up. What am I doing here? Give me a second, family.
No
All right.
problem.
So Doc. All right.
Uh-huh.
So he said these were the way the numbers were invented, and I shouldn't have cut it off right there. But he said that those numbers were introduced to us as shapes, and we turned them into numbers.
Yeah.
Now, the way he wrote the numbers and he developed the angles based off the numbers is a little different from the way we write our numbers today. So the 7 had the 7, then it had a line in the middle of the 7.
That's how I write it.
Right. So this is what I want to ask you, Doc. Since shapes are sacred geometry carries frequencies and carries a certain resonance. The way, let me give an example. If I told you to come, if I said, Doc, I live on 527 Eastland Road, and come to my address. And if I wrote it a little different from the way it's supposed to be written, you might go to the wrong address. So I'm wondering if the way we're writing the numbers now, are we going to the wrong frequency address? Because if 8, let's just use 8, for example. King Solomon says 8 represents wealth. Now, if I write 8 the way Westerners use it, it's different from the way he wrote it. So
Right.
am I tuning into the wrong frequency of wealth based on the way we write it in the ways, based on what, versus the way he wrote it, Doc?
Well, you see, he's using words and numbers and figures.
Yes.
What you forgot was each one, anytime, there was no such thing as one. One came from the resonating chant, Om.
Okay.
Okay? That's why it begins with the 0 and the 1. The 1 actually came out of 0, which was infinity. And from that, since all things are the 1, then from that, you straighten the 0 out to become, remember, when the 0 opens up, it becomes 1. There are only 9 numbers. And every time you chanted a specific frequency that doubled on itself, the way that they deal with, you ever see the way that when you put sand on a plate and you hit a fork, a tuning fork, and you place it on the metal plate with the sand, it gives you a design.
Yes.
Same thing with number.
Mm-hmm.
When number essentially was given off, each one of them had to do with a resonating signature of sound.
Mm-hmm.
And each number is a value within the 9 that constitutes everything living on third density. So as you are dealing with 1 through 9, that 1, the 0, is taking different shapes based upon the resonance of going down in stepping down in frequency. In other words, the 0 is the higher frequency. As you see it, and it begins to descend into a more congested or compressed zone of activity, it then goes into or breaks up and fragments into 9 pieces before it duplicates on itself, because the 0 comes before the 1, but then as it reaches 9, when the resonances of third density has reached the envelope or the threshold, it reverses.
Right.
So now you have the 0, 1,
Whew. Talk to
and
me.
then as it begins to step down in value and opens up, that's how you come into the womb after 9.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And then after that, the womb now gives birth to the child.
Mm.
The child now gives birth, the mother who took on a child now gives birth to a whole other potential, which now is over there. Now, anything that is followed by 0 is seen as sacred. So at the beginning of every number, from 1 to 9, anytime you see a 0 following it,
Mhm.
that's spirituality, that's
Mhm.
potential. And whatever number's in front of it, the value of that number is now using the 0 as the soil upon which that number's value is now gestated.
Mm.
You see
It,
what I'm saying?
it's quite interesting, Doc, how the 0 represents potential, and we got terms in science like the 0 point field, and in our culture, we give such a negative definition to 0. So if you want to insult somebody, you'd be like, "You 0 ass nigga," you know what I'm saying? You call them a 0,
Yeah.
but 0 represents, I guess, unlimited potential. It's kind of,
Unlimited potential,
yeah,
and it's actually it's a point where all energy rests
right.
to our senses.
Yeah.
It's in it's a 0 point reference, means that the potential energy within that point of reference has not expressed itself because the adjutant necessary to activate its potential is not in there. The 0 now acts as the egg in the woman,
Mm. Mm.
and the sperm now becomes the adjutant to whatever that potential would be once it's activated. Well, that's how thought works.
Mm.
Everything now, when you're creating that thought, the thought is to create a template or the egg that you feed consistently by holding on to it, and then the universe now sees the potential with it and begins to activate that particular thought process that you've created the template out of. And once that happens, the universe sees it, fertilizes it, and gives it back to you in the same quality that you gave it to the
Mm.
universe.
Mm.
You got to clear your mind. You cannot bring the pains of your thoughts in your past into that moment that I spoke about earlier,
Mm.
because all you've done is tainted it and brought yourself back into the world of karma.
Right, right, right. Yeah, definitely. Now, Doc, what I want to, and then once again, family, if you're just joining us, the name of the show is Mental Sorcery. We dealing with they call it magic. You could call it science. You could have just different names for it, but it's who we are as a people. You know, it's who we are as a people. It's not something that's out of our reach, out of our grasp. It's just something we forgot how to tap into, something that has been purposely, deliberately, hid from us throughout our lifetime in the school systems and the television and the media and the newspapers. Everywhere you turn around, this information has been hidden to us. And thank God for Dr. Valentine. I mean, I'm talking about, what is it, over 4 decades, Doc? You've been doing this?
Yes. Going
Over
on my
4
fifth.
decades. This man has been into so much. The private conversations I have with this brother, if you know all the stuff he's been into, man, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Okay.
It's so what I want to ask you, Doc, is we're talking about like mental sorcery, right? So I ask questions for a living. So let me just put this on the screen real quick. So this brother said, man, Brother Rich asked a question on a cosmic level in plain language. Appreciate your integrity, Rich. Now, in terms, based on that, now a lot of people tell me sometime, Doc, that Rich, man, you asked a question sometime that I thought about, or I was just thinking that, or you asked a question I never thought about, or whatever. What I want to ask you is this idea of quantum entanglement. It seems like to me, Doc, being like, I know we're like walking antennas. Sometimes I feel, Doc, and I'm glad I have you here to ask you this question. Sometimes I feel like the more people that I like, when you brought me on stage in New York, right? I feel like the more people that's in the crowd or on the stage or in the building, the more ability that I have to ask a good question, the more ability that I have to tap into something. Like I feel like a high, like right now there's almost 2,000 people in here. So I'm like, oh yeah, it's showtime. I feel like it's time to perform now. Is that example of quantum entanglement with me and everybody's that's watching? They're feeding me ideas, they're feeding me questions, and am I like just picking it like cherries from a tree, and then I come up with a question to you? Is that what's happening,
Yeah,
Doc?
it's empathy. You have what is known as a metaphysical empathy.
Okay.
And metaphysical empathy is you know how to read the room while the room is reading you. And the beautiful part about it is it becomes a synergy where you become almost like the voice of that spirit that wants to manifest itself in that group.
Right.
And very few people can pick up on that, but you have to be already open and you have to have the kind of innocent curiosity that comes with people who the universe automatically serves, which is why the Bible says you have to be as little children to enter the kingdom. Well, that means exactly the kingdom is up here. The kingdom is in here. If you understand that, you must stay like a child in order to understand. The
Right.
innocence is what opens you up to the universe. You begin to have ideas that are not judged by the mores and the particular, the nuances of the day. We set up blocks in order to operate and to tolerate one another. Children don't have that block. Children have this freedom where they have whatever it is that their minds are open to, they'll express it to the best of their ability. Well, this is what the spirit, as well as our ancestors, are telling us, that the person that came in and dressed as the clown, the clown was the one who got us to laugh and to be something completely different from what we wanted to be. The order, the structure of adults, you have a certain way of behaving, a certain way of doing, speaking. Well, no, the clown becomes the conduit to your child within. And you begin to start giggling and having fun with the children, and you're more at one with the children when a clown is around.
You're right. Right.
That you understand that particular letting go of certain, of structures that keep you as the adult. It doesn't say you have to get rid of them all the time, but you do have to at least release what it is that you've constrained yourself to in order for you to function in the world. But what you're doing as a person who is what the Ghanaians used to call an Ochimi, someone who speaks for someone else, you especially are finding the words that people have difficulty structuring in order to get the answers they need. And what you have the ability to do is to call upon people like myself and brothers like Bobby and others. You call upon that part of us that essentially, with your questioning, reaches us to reach them.
Right.
That's a gift. King Simon, a lot of the other brothers, like Hank, y'all know what to ask. Because like I said, there's a whole lot rattling up in here. After reading all the books I have, after doing all the things that I've done, I don't even remember until somebody kind of jaws it loose. And
Yeah.
that's what you do. You bring forward things that I've already studied and hopefully be able to bring it to other people. But you have that gift, and that's a gift. So if you're feeling everything that the people feel and they like what you're saying, it's because they tap in to that space. that space that you occupy by calling everybody together and saying, look, what you got to think on? What's in your mind at this particular time? Oh, guess what? I'm feeling this. And when you ask it, everybody said, that's it. That's exactly what I was thinking about. Keep doing what you're doing, brother. That's your legend.
Appreciate it. We talked about words earlier, resonance and words. One of the things that that's very important when it comes to mental sorcery, when it comes to anything spiritual, is breathing. Breathing is extremely important. It's something that we neglect. We take for granted. We don't focus on enough. We don't, pay attention to enough. I was reading a book. This is what I want to ask you, Doc. All right. So I'm gonna give a couple examples. I was reading a book, and the book said that the breathing, they was talking about the word Yahweh. And they said Yahweh is like I guess comes from the breath. So in the human breath, when you so they was like, you're like, Yahweh, Yahweh. Then I read another book that said the inhale exhale is like the I am. So what I want to ask you, Doc, is what words would best describe the inhale, exhale sound vibration? If we could describe the in words, what words would accurately describe will be the best representative of that sound vibration, the inhale, exhale, Doc?
Soham.
Explain that. No, I never heard that. Talk to me.
Here we go.
Here we go.
We teach it at our university.
Here we go.
See, what you're listening to is the sounds outside. Those are not real.
Yeah.
Those have been qualified by the atmosphere that you're speaking into.
You
want the inner atmosphere to speak to you. You want to hear the name of God spoken to you each time you draw breath. So what I tell people to do is to put their fingers in their ears and inhale through the nose. Tell me, what sound do you hear? And coin it in the sound that you hear. So a lot of time people think, well, they stick a hand in their ear and they hear a, and so you hear this, you hear it. So it's like so. And when you breathe out, you have a close your mouth. So the Sanskrit word soham means I am that.
So the I am isn't far off then.
It's already in it. The word soham is an old Sanskrit Dravidian word that the masters used when they went into Kundalini. They called upon the soham energy, and you hear it. You have to really listen to your breath because the flow comes in and it hits the nasal pharynx, and there is a bridge, a note there. There's a, like, have you ever seen the way a flute is played? The nasal pharynx right here, once you breathe in, it goes directly to the frontal lobe, and there's a sound that hits the frontal lobe in the breath. And what it does is circulates around the outer phalanges of the brain. And when you breathe out, when you say that, you are telling me that I am the breath of life. You see, and you're speaking that to yourself. That's not something that is spoken outside. You can't hear that outside. The only way you can hear what you are, not who you are, because that's what you're listening to outside, who you became.
Right.
What you are is internal. And the only way that you're going to find that out is if you listen from within.
Got me hyped, Doc. I love this. Ooh, I love this type of stuff, y'all. Can you spell that for me? How do you spell that, Doc? That Sanskrit word.
S-O.
S-O.
And then ham, H-A-M.
Soham.
Yeah. So no. Your breath is through your nose. Nobody breathes through their mouth.
Okay.
The reason why you have that is the right nostril is electric. The left nostril is magnetic. When you wake up in the morning, one of your nostrils are open, the other one is wide open, closed.
Right.
If the left one is open, it means that whatever's going on in your mind and in your heart and your body, you need to cool it down. If they closed off the right, that's what it means. They closed off the left. If your body closed off the left, then the inner intelligence is trying to get more prana into your system in order for you to get more of the oxygen. So it shuts down the left side and gives you more of an electrical side. That's why when you wake up in the morning, when I wake up in the morning, I do my breathing on either side to actually balance out what's coming into my breath, coming into my lungs.
Right. So, Doc, black people are often made fun of because they call us, they say we have big noses and big lips. So, is that a result of us having more electromagnetism? That's
More
what we have.
contact with the prana, more contact with the energy.
More access to the prana.
Why do
Love
you
it.
think we make such better athletes?
More access.
More access to prana means more access to the electromagnetic source that the sun is giving to us. Remember, we're sun children.
Right.
And the sun is giving you this plasma that is eased down into the atmosphere. Your nostrils now are taking in all of that. You kidding? That is a blessing. They can laugh at anybody who want to, but if you look at most of the brothers out there and sisters out there who are actually the top athletes, they got these big ass noses, wide noses, and smaller ears that are pointed outward. If you look at athletes, their ears are like this.
Why is that? Why is that?
Well, whatever it is, nature has created more of them in to be able to hear or to be able to, I don't know. I've never figured out why most athletes, some of the stronger athletes, have ears that come out like this. It's powerful.
Doc, so all right, so this has started out absolutely amazing. I knew it would. So let's keep this thing going. We almost at 2,000 in the room. Let's keep this thing going. Oh, before I do, let me King Simon, of course, he's on it. Appreciate King Simon as always. He's sharing Dr. Valentine's links. Where is it at? Where is it? Did he leave? Where is it? I seen him with okay, here we go. Make sure you support Doc. We're going to get into something concerning Juice Plus toward the end of the program. He got an announcement that he wants to share with the family. Health is wealth. So he has an important announcement. Stay tuned for that. In the meantime, make sure you support Doc on all these links here. Commit Earth at Gmail. That's his PayPal. He got the 1-800 number, the email. Make sure you show Doc love, all right? And if Doc has an announcement in terms of our health a little later on in the program, so stay tuned for that. That's an important one, all right? All right, so with that being said, like I said, great show. All right, so Doc, all right, here we go, Doc. Here we go, Doc. I got the spirit in me. Doc. You know what? I just thought of something. Before I ask that, let me ask that a question before I ask that question. Because when I said that, I just had a question. I thought about church, and I thought about the preachers getting the Holy Ghost and all that. Doc, have you ever spoken tongues? Is that a hustle? Have you ever spoken tongues? What's that about? Since we're talking about sorcery and magic and all that, you ever spoken tongues, Doc? Because you did it all.
You know what tongues is? Tongues is scatting.
Talk to me. What's that? I don't know what you mean.
You ever heard Ella Fitzgerald?
Yes.
You ever heard her sing?
Yes.
You ever heard Satchmo? When he was yeah.
That's
called it religious scatting. It's called Holy Ghost scat. Yeah. It's a Holy Ghost scatter. And what that does is just they start tune you in. You know, everything we did as melanated peoples was to actually catch the spirit. So scatting in our music, in our regular music, when we played instruments and sang, is the same way they do it in church when the that's them just catching the spirit and feeling good about it. I mean, talking in tongues like everybody else can actually understand what that means. Anybody ever listen to somebody talking in tongues and found out what they're saying? All they're saying is the Lord is talking to them, but do you understand anything they're saying? Not a damn thing.
Right.
Do you understand what it is they do when they're scatting? No. You like what you hear. Right. So I say it's the Holy Ghost scatting.
You know what's funny? You say that. You was like, you don't know what they saying, but I mean, it's you can feel it. Sometimes, Doc. Sometimes, say I turn to something on the internet on TV. If I see two people laughing hysterically, like let's say they just laughing, I just start laughing. I don't even know the damn joke, Doc. I just be like,
Yeah.
oh. I mean, I laugh like I heard the joke already. Then I'll
Yeah.
be like, in my mind, I'll be like, Rich, you don't even know the joke. But there's
Right.
something about that energy exchange that just makes me laugh too, Doc.
Yeah,
What's
it's from the
going
heart.
on in that instance?
It's from the heart. My wife does that to me.
Uh-huh.
Every time, sometimes she's in the other room and she busts out laughing. She has this incredible, for a little dainty, she has this incredibly raucous laugh
Uh-huh.
that as soon as I hear it, I start busting out laughing. I want to know what you laughing at. I'm over there laughing. I don't know why I'm laughing, but I'm laughing with her. Yeah, that's the kind of contagiousness that when you love, when you have an open heart, when you have a heart chakra that's open, you can enjoy laughter.
Oh man.
And you can participate in it because laughter is usually from the heart. In fact, people who laugh too much have heart conditions.
Are you serious?
That's right.
Laughing too much?
Laughing too much. People who laugh at anything, say like you try to tell them something that's serious and they start laughing, or they laugh anytime they hear you speak to make you feel comfortable. The pericardium of the heart, that outer covering that the heart has, there's something going on there. There's a glitch in the pericardium of the heart when you laugh too much.
All right. Since you mentioned the heart, I don't know if I asked you this before. I know you touched on this before, but since we're talking about mental sorcery and you mentioned the heart, you have to tell me on a deep level the connection between the tongue and the heart. How is the tongue and the heart connected? What happens with the tongue and the heart?
Well, the tongue and the heart, the tongue was actually more connected to the stomach. And there are different parts on the tongue that the Ayurvedic people use in order to measure what's going on in your body. The tongue itself and the heart, usually when they speak about the tongue connected to the heart, they're speaking about what you're talking or what what you are actually feeling and what you're trying to articulate. And the problem with that is the connection to the heart is not actually what the tongue is saying, it's what the brain is saying, and it's being qualified through the voice box, and the tongue is keeping up with what the heart feels those words mean. If you understand what I'm saying. The heart is actually the judge.
Right.
Okay, it's not the pump. The lungs are the pump. The heart is the regulator. It's not only the regulator for what your body needs in the form of nutrients and so forth, oxygen and so forth. It's the regulator of thought, and it's the regulator of feelings. So the connection is that sometimes when someone is speechless, you've touched their hearts to the point where they can't, there's no words.
Talk to me, Doc. Talk to me.
Yeah, so, and that's the same thing with fear. Is there's these certain things that the body cannot articulate, that the heart has not yet come to terms with in order for the tongue to articulate.
Right.
So there's the tongue itself is a latent instrument. It wasn't really used because we use this to communicate directly. We didn't have words to kind of mince between meanings. We put words in between meanings when we would convey the entire energy of what we meant to the other person's aura, and then that would be deciphered as communication. To me, I would feel you directly.
Indeed.
Just like you could feel that child directly when you look into your baby's eyes. That child looks at you, and you know that there's something that child is familiar with because that child is older than you. Remember, that child came back after you, which means was here before you. And that child is older. And if you are listening to children, especially the intelligent ones, when they start babbling, record them.
You told me this before.
Record the child and play it backwards and see if they're trying to mimic your thoughts and your words.
Excellent.
And so the tongue and the heart connecting is based upon how the mind essentially is using the voice box. The voice box is then actually articulating what the heart essentially regulates in the form of feelings and emotions and desires. Excuse me. I don't know why these people keep calling me at this point. But anyway, what I was saying to you. All right. Yeah. So the heart, the heart, the mind, the heart, the tongue, all of that connection is what you're feeling, your feelings and your desires, how they are feeling, how you're articulating them, and the tongue now becomes the articulator. But again, the tongue again is hard to say. That is a regulator actually mostly for what you eat. And if you eat a certain type of food, it regulates through your taste buds to tell your digestion what kind of acidic or alkaline digestive juices you need.
But
But it also regulates what you eat here.
Doc, I gotta say this to you, Doc. Hold up. It sounds like you are what's the right word? You're just putting the tongue in a category of digestion.
Mm-hmm.
But if love is the highest frequency, Doc,
Mm-hmm.
tongue is the main player in that.
Yeah,
You blow a woman a kiss, you
yeah,
kiss a woman, you kiss a
yeah,
baby.
yeah,
You when you making love to your woman, you go
yeah,
down on her.
yeah,
Tongue
yeah.
is the most important thing
But
when it
wait
comes to
now,
love, Doc.
but
Doc,
did you hear what I said?
digested, Doc.
But
The
did you
tongue
hear
is
what I said?
love.
But did you hear what I said? You either digest here
Yeah.
or you digest here. So if you want to go down and digest, if you want to go down and eat at the Y, you want to eat at the Y, you go right ahead,
Oh,
brother.
man. Doc, come on.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
man.
aren't you speaking? Aren't you
Yeah.
speaking to it? You know, you're speaking to her when you're
Yeah.
down there. You're
Yeah.
talking to her.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a whole other form of language, a whole other form of communication down there. And
Oh, man.
she's feeling it. She ain't got to say
Yeah.
another word.
Oh,
All
yeah.
she
Oh,
got to do
man.
is scream. If you know how to talk down there,
Whew.
she'll scream up there.
Whew. Tell me. Oh, man. So let me ask you this, Doc. All right.
Mhm.
So you studied it all, Doc. You studied all types of advanced civilizations, and we hear a lot about. We often refer to past civilizations as advanced civilizations. When we talk about Atlantis, we talk about Lemuria.
Yeah.
Then we start talking, Doc, about telepathic civilizations that didn't use the tongue, and we say as we fell, we evolved, and we started to speak. Before we didn't have to speak, we just read energy.
Yeah.
Do you think, Doc? Do you think a telepathic civilization? Now, this is us from the perspective of being in America in 2025 or 1980 or however long we've been alive, saying that. Do you think a telepathic civilization from Lemuria, if they was to observe us, they're telepathic, they don't use the tongue, right? Do you think they will call us advanced if they heard of Michael Jackson, if they heard of Mariah Carey, if they heard of Whitney Houston, and they heard the sounds that come from our tongue and from our mouth? Would they call us advanced because we was able to do that and we call them advanced? So it's like a back and forth. When you don't have a certain gift, we call a gift we don't have advanced. Would they call us advanced because that's some of the most beautiful things I'm sure the universe has ever heard when they heard Michael Jackson, Doc? So would Lemuria say, God damn, Michael Jackson is advanced? Talk to me, Doc. I'm on fire. Come on. Come on, Doc. Come on.
Have you ever watched animals in the wild
Yeah.
and see how intelligent they are?
Yeah.
Weren't you fascinated by what it is that they almost inhuman? Have you ever seen an animal come up to people and ask for help?
No.
Yeah, there are animals that actually come up to people, say if they have one of their siblings are in trouble, and they can't get them out, but they know that a human can help. They would get out of the forest, come over to where humans are, and do their best to get the humans to follow them to where they have the problem.
Wow.
Now, wouldn't you say that that was, wow, ain't that advanced?
Mm.
I mean, just because Michael Jackson, as wonderful, and Prince, as wonderful as they were as musicians, and how they use sound, I would be fascinated because the fact that I am a semi-ethereal entity that can leave out of here and travel through space and time, and I've come to a place where a module of life is actually doing beautiful things, I would just be fascinated, move on to the next fascinating thing that the Most High has created.
Mm.
But as far as us, we would look at that and say, those people are godlike,
Mm.
you know? But I mean, they're looking at us and seeing that we do this, and then see the fact that they switch off of Michael Jackson and look over there in the Middle East and see all kinds of genocide and sick killing and murdering and all kinds of poverty, and they say, well, it seems that there's one set of humans that are doing the right thing, and then there's another set of humans that's just full of shit.
Mm-hmm.
They're just crazy. I would just be an observer. People like that would be the Lemuria would look at us and say, well, you know, even though they can speak, what are they doing to each other? I mean, they're doing to each other and do not feel the end result of their actions. People that you're talking about that we would look at, if they were to do that, they would feel whatever it is they actually inflicted on the other person. See, that shows me that they're not involved, that their individuality have made them completely distinct and non-empathetic to every other life form, even though they've done very good by it. You know that they said that, you see, like Professor X,
Yeah.
where he uses his mind to cause people, you know, in the comic book Professor X,
Mm-hmm.
the X-Men. Do you know that you cannot use your brain to do harm if you even had the gift to do what you do? Because the frontal lobe shuts down all negative thought or anything that would go contrary.
Mm.
So if you do have a gift of being able to project your mind into another mind, when you do that, you open up a door that both of you all are connected now.
Mm-hmm.
So if I was to try to get into your mind, I would open up a door to your mind, but you would come into mine as well.
Mm.
So if for me to be able to do that, the universe will not allow me to inflict pain using this part of my brain.
Mm.
This part of my brain would shut down immediately if the intention of that communication was to harm.
Wow.
The back end here, what we talk about, the medulla oblongata, and you're talking about that part. There's a part there that flips.
Yeah.
The amygdala. That amygdala, when there's a positive thought and love, it flips forward to the front lobe.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as there is any kind of negative energy, it flips back towards the serpentine and shuts down any ability for the front lobe to work.
Damn, dog.
So you can't use the frontal lobe to project any bullshit, to fuck around with nature, to kill, to hurt.
Yeah.
You can't do that. Nature won't allow it.
Wow.
That's why this beast has to use all kind of machinery to offset that.
Right. Oh, I hope y'all realize what the good doctor just said. I would elaborate, but I'm not even going to. This is something that I feel like what you just said. Oh my God, that is a game changer for the family to realize and understand. If we're talking about all this superpowers we want to get and all of that, what he just told us just now is pure game, y'all. Do not sleep on. Wow, this is an amazing show. We got over 2,000 people, 2,100 people actually in the chat right now. Let's keep this thing going, Doc. Let's keep this thing going. This is a good one, Doc. This is a real good one.
My pleasure.
Doc, I gotta challenge you with these questions tonight, Doctor.
Hit me.
I like to get the energy flowing. So I like to
Beloved,
get the, I
I
like
like to see the people come to
yeah.
my university. If they really like this, they need to come to the university because we get down then. The
Did,
uksnow.org. Just click where
I,
it says register.
I got it.
Matter of fact, my next class starts tomorrow.
I got it on the screen. King
Yeah,
Simon is sharing it all show long in the chat. Thank you, King
yeah,
Simon. You're making my
yeah.
life easier. He got the university link right. Do you hear the way Dr. Valentine is talking to me tonight? Do you hear the answers this brother comes up with? I'm like, I'm trying to come at him. I'm trying to come at the doctor, and he's not like he has a bat and he's just knocking it out the park. He knocks every question out the park. And I'm just like, how does he knock everyone out the park? Family, this dude, man, listen, this God, this brother, this king, all the different terms we have is amazing, man. We blessed to have him in this physical form. Make sure, click on that link, uksnow.org. Support him on PayPal, the 1-800 number, all of that good stuff. Thank you, King Simon, for sharing the links. Let's keep this thing going, Doc. Let's keep it going. We having a good time. It's a good current tonight.
Yeah,
It's a good current. It's good flow tonight.
it sure
All right,
is.
so Doc, let me ask you this. So
Mhm.
we're talking about mental sorcery, right? One thing, when you start reading these books, you always hear about visualization. You have to visualize what you want. And because you talked about the English language being a light code lockdown language, I think you said,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. When we think about visualizing, we're thinking about bringing something we don't have into existence. Do you think, because we only see such a small percentage of the light spectrum, Doc, do you think visualizing, we need to change that mindset of bringing something we don't have into existence until to seeing it as something that already exists? If we could feel it, it exists. So if we look at it as, I'm visualizing because something exists, I just got to get it in this dimension. So should we look at it as something that exists instead of something that don't exist? Because 99% of people think they're bringing something that don't exist. But whatever we want to visualize, we have this feeling inside about it. So should we start thinking it in the mind frame of, I'm bringing what already exists into my visual spectrum?
Yeah.
Because I only see such a small percentage.
Yeah, you're right. The way that you manifest and will manifest
Yes.
is that you have to speak it in the present. Because if you try saying, well, I would like this to happen, or I want to do this, or here's where I'm headed, then what you've done is you've created distance,
Yeah.
or the perception of distance, and in so doing, you've actually added the element of time.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're thinking about something that does not exist yet, and you're craving it as if it doesn't exist, and you're waiting for it to exist,
Mm-hmm.
then the universe is actually it's pretty much obeying your will.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing it as if it's now, you see. And the thing, you said something very interesting that I teach in the school. If you want to start using visualization, then that's part of what the eyes are connected to.
Mm-hmm.
Then if it is the pyramid, first of all, you have the center eye, they call it the first eye. We call it that. And then the two eyes create the pyramid. What you're doing essentially by the eyes themselves, if you're using the eyes to visualize, then what you're going to do is connect with the physical body that actually runs the health of the eyes, and that's the liver. So if you are calling upon visualizing anything, what is your physical health, which becomes the battery that maintains that particular apparatus so that you can keep that so-called vision as a sigil? See, a lot of people are angry. They have a lot of hatred, and that anger is resonating in the liver. Well, the liver is an organ, and an organ is a sound instrument. And what you're doing is you're actually causing the liver to reverberate dissonant chords. So if your thought process is all connected or congested with thoughts of frustration, anger, jealousy, greed, lack, big one. If you have all of these going on, your liver now is actually impeding your so-called positive image that you want for yourself, because you are now vibrating that image again to visualize or to see yourself as that. And if you don't have a healthy body or a healthy liver to actually help in that visualization spiritually, then your physical will always create a dissonant note between what you are projecting and what you want the universe to project back to you. So you have to be totally in this place. Again, it goes back to your thought process. That's why we teach the thought process, or we teach the science of thought at our university.
Indeed.
And how it is you have to become a monitor. You have to become someone who inventories your thinking process to see, as I always hear me say, whether you are thinking your thoughts or your thoughts are thinking you.
So the last thing we just touched on was the eyes, Doc. Now, just because you can't see something doesn't mean it's not there. Right. So if I blindfolded somebody, Doc, and then somebody went to punch them in their stomach, just because they don't see it doesn't mean that doesn't mean that what happened. That person still punched them in their stomach. Everything that happened. They just couldn't see it. They was blindfolded. Right. Now, saying that to say, we're blindfolded from 99% of the light spectrum. Right. So I want to ask you this. Based on what I just said, I want to ask you this. In the X-Men, you referenced the X-Men earlier. There was a character, Cyclops. He take off his sunglasses, light beam. Like, it was like a light beam, a red light beam that hits everything moving.
Yeah.
Just because I can't see my light beam emanating from your eyes, Doc, that doesn't mean it's not coming from your eyes. I want to ask you a question now, Doc.
Yeah.
Based on observation and experience in this physical form, a lot of people this has happened to a lot of people. A person will look at somebody. They could feel them looking at them. They'll turn around and they'll be like, damn, why is this person looking at me? You didn't know they were looking at you, but it's something inside of you that felt that this person was looking at you. Right. I remember one time when I was real young, Doc, I'll be looking at a girl walking down the street. I'll be like, God damn. She turned around. I'll be like, oh shit, how she know I was looking at her? God damn, I didn't want her to catch me. God damn, how she called me. You know, in New York, girls walk by you looking, right. Look back. She looked at the exact dude that's looking at her. I'm like, God damn, how the hell she know I'm looking? But it could be, it could be that's just one example. It could be many examples. What I want to ask you, Doc, is because we're blindfolded from the light spectrum, when we look at somebody, are we sending that cyclops ray at them, and they're feeling that light? They're like, and they look like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Who hit me? Is that what's happening, Doc?
And that's why you have to be extremely careful how you look at your children when they look at you.
Ooh, talk to me.
If you have a serious intention, say for instance, you're angry with your child. Have you ever looked at your child when they're doing something wrong, and then when they look at you, they have this feeling that comes over them, their entire face changes, and you could sense the fear coming from them because they know there's a consequence for what they did?
I'm guilty of that.
Your eyes.
I'm guilty of that. I've done that. I'm guilty of that. Yes.
Well, that's what happens. A lot of times, parents who do that too often and don't understand how to communicate to the child, then they cause certain what I call psychospiritual fissures in the child's aura, and that then becomes a kind of a canker, a sore on the aura that leads to that child. All of a sudden, you see the child start sniffling or coughing, or the child has a fever.
Damn.
Most people don't know that how strong your adult eyes, what you're doing by you're looking at your children in a certain way, They are essentially open books to energy, which is very, very. This is why they use the TV, and they've given them all this these computers and phones to, because a children's psyche is completely open. It's a developing brain, and it's creating ganglia based on that experience. If you're looking at that child and you're projecting something to that child that is not kosher, that child is going to create certain ganglia based upon the feelings that that look invoked. Okay, and that feeling that the child invoked, that you invoked in that child, becomes a disease later on.
Damn, doc. Come on, man.
Yeah,
Shit.
yeah,
Shit. Damn.
yeah. We have to understand. That's what they call about the. You ever heard that saying? If looks could kill,
Yeah. Yeah. I
yeah,
heard, yeah.
it can. It sure can.
So,
It
so,
could kill parts of the spirit. It could kill. It could kill the health of a child, and then leave that child open to some form of reaction that
damn.
we call a disease. Yeah.
So don't ever give your child that look.
Well, what you want to do is, I used to shoot that one eyebrow up, with a smile, and that way they know, okay, boom. And I used to have, my children were very. I'm just so lucky I had them, because I used to have, used to give them pagers. They
Yeah.
knew they had to be at a certain time, in a certain time, boom, boom, boom. And I never had to really discipline my children. There's a couple of times I had to kind of, when my son got too bold, I had to kind of cave his chest in one little bit. He hated that. And then the other part of it, I used to take my knuckles right there, and I used to knock on his frontal lobe. I used to say, yo, 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 anybody in there? Can you hear what I'm talking about? He hated that. And
Mm.
so it was kind of a subdued form of aggression to get him to start thinking, because
Mm.
I knew how dangerous it was for a young man who was not thinking properly and not understanding his actions.
Mm.
So boys are forged into manhood. Women, pretty much as soon as they have their first menage, then that's their womanhood. You see what I'm saying? But with young men, you got to forge manhood into them. So I had to be very careful how I looked at my children and
Right.
what I used to say to them. Do you want me? How do you want my facial expression based upon an action that you just did? When you're away from me, what would my facial expression look like if you did something? So I used to give them scenarios. Like, for instance, our man came back one time and he was acting out on the subway. I'm talking about he and his friends were going ape shit on the subway.
Oh man.
I got a call,
Oh man.
and then all of a sudden he came home, and I said, "So how was your day?" He said, "Oh, it was all right, nothing." I said, "What did you do?" "Well, nothing." I said, "Well, you out on the subway? You and your boys?" Yeah. I said, "You all acting out?" Blah, blah. Wait a minute. How did you know that? I said, "I got eyes everywhere."
Oh man.
Then there was another time
Oh
he
man.
went. He was on the road with. I think he was on the road with Joe. You remember the singer Joe?
Yeah, Joe. Yeah, yeah. I
Right.
remember. Yeah.
Choreographing for him. Something happened to him where I think it's either his pancreas or something got hurt, and he was in Texas, in Houston, and he had gotten to the hospital. He called me up and said, "Dad, they're talking about taking out my this and my that, cutting it out. I'm in the hospital." And I said, "What are you talking about?" "Yeah, no, they're going to cut off a piece of my pancreas and do all." I said, "No, hold on." I made a call,
Mm.
and I had one of my students was a practicing doctor.
Mm.
He
Mm.
was, he was in school to be a doctor.
Mm.
And so I said, "Yo, my son is in so and so hospital. What's up with that? They're talking about this and that. I need you there." He got about 3 or 4 of his other brothers who were doctors, walked in there, flashed their credentials, and shut down the room
Yikes.
to any other doctors.
Wow.
And my pop, he said, "Damn, Dad, Who are you, the Godfather? I said, no. I said, I just know people and I'm righteous with people, and that's how I want you to be.
Mm,
So he's seen me, he's seen what I can do. And so now when he got his stats, and was able to do what he did, he was forged into that sense of manhood. And this is why, we forged that good energy from me. My other children, I didn't have that. With my daughter, I did have it. She and I partied. We used to hang out. She used to come to my rehearsal and my practice for my music. But
mm,
all my other children, the mothers kept them away.
mm,
What can I tell you?
wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Very interesting, Doc.
yeah, yeah.
What
I've learned my lessons.
what I want to touch on now, since we talk so much about certain sounds and certain vibrations and things of that nature, I want to talk about the idea of there's certain sounds that just come out of us, Doc. So let's say, and I don't want to make this show X-rated, but if you're making love to a lady, there's certain sounds you might make during that process that you don't plan, you don't know you're gonna make. It just comes out during the process. And love making is a very spiritual act. It's not it's been turned into the degeneracy from
Mhm.
P. Diddy and people like that, but it's a very sacred spiritual act. What I want to ask you, Doc, is those sounds that come out from somewhere deep in our subconscious during such a spiritual act such as sex. Should we take those sounds and use them in meditation? So let me give you an example. I might be with my lady and I might be like, is that something that if I'm meditating, I'll be like, is that something that will benefit me during meditation the same way it would during sex? So even if I'm not engaging in that act and I'm saving my energy or whatever the case may be, I can still use that sound vibration, just like God created the universe with sound. I can use that energy that I may have used that energy to create my son Sirius. When I bust a nut. Pardon my
Mhm.
language, family. But if I take that same sound I use to create Sirius and I use it in meditation, does that bring extreme life to what I want to manifest in this realm?
Well, if you're talking about the act of sex, the sounds that you're talking about invoking are primal sounds. The primal sounds that you would hear a child.
Yeah,
There are no words involved in that.
yeah,
Primal sounds don't have or are not formed into unarticulated synonyms and pronouns and what we've
right.
defined as language.
Yeah, yeah.
But we call the language of love what your girl, Donna Summer, she did that very well. She put that into I love to love you, baby. And
Mm.
that caused a whole lot of babies to be born when you were listening to that.
Right, right,
What
right.
I'm saying to you is that we as men, we're more motivated when we hear her sound. If we are good, I'm not the phony ones. You
Yeah,
can always tell the ones that are phony, but the ones that make her lose control, so to speak.
yeah.
That sound is a primal sound that becomes our motivator.
Oh yeah.
What she's doing through those primal sounds is that she is now activating the egg if
Mm,
you're doing it at that particular time.
mm,
She
mm,
has sent that love signature through that harmonic to that area in her womb to prepare the child. And that if it's coming from love and not just lust,
mm,
then that's going to be a very healthy baby.
mm,
Depending on your own energy as well, if you are engendering in your mind and in your heart, if your blood crystal is resonating with a energy called desire,
mm,
then the signature of your sperm now entangles with that harmonic that she created, that she opened up that energy for. And then you go in with the sperm, it penetrates the zona pellucida, but it's charged with your desire energy. And that
mm,
what makes the boy. So you,
mm,
because you have the sons,
mm,
your desires at the time of the lovemaking superseded the emotional signature, the emotional duality.
Mm.
When you have more of your emoting energies and you're more into a magnetic energy, and your sperm becomes charged with your feelings and what the energy that resonates through feelings, then what you do is you open up that door and it becomes a female. In my book, The Wounded Womb, which I recommend to people to get as well, you go to lulu.com
Yeah.
and you just put, Wounded Womb, Phil Valentine in there. And in there, I speak about the fact that there is no you're born a female first, then you turn into a male. That's some feminist bullshit. What happens is when you're born, when the zygote opens up, it's already charged by you to be either male or female.
Mm-hmm.
But the signature doesn't happen until the form begins to take shape. And when the signature begins, say for instance, this would be the energy, it begins to come together like this, where the reproductive is. When it's if you charged the egg or you charge the sperm with your desire energy, this particular neutral band begins to migrate downward to become the penis.
Mm-hmm.
If that happens, if you have an emotion energy,
Mm-hmm.
then it migrates laterally to
Mm.
become the womb.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no female born first and then you become a male. That's crap.
Mm.
What happens essentially is that the signature vibration of your sperm is what dictates the so-called sex of the child.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And from that point forward,
Mm-hmm.
hormones, and that's why you want to, she takes a long time. That time, women take a while for you to get, it's like the body knows, listen, if I'm ready for reproduction, that means I can get pregnant. That means 9 months I have a living entity inside of me. All of that goes through their minds.
Mm-hmm.
If you want her to forget that, then you have to make sure that she forgets that she's a body.
Mm.
If she forgets she's a body, and you get hold of tapping into her mind and
Mm-hmm.
then right into her feelings and then down into her womb,
Yeah.
you got you a healthy baby. And not only that, you got someone who is open to you more than you know because your sperm changes her blood crystal energy. Sperm actually changes a woman's whole blood crystal energy.
Mm.
Okay? So she's never the same once sperm reaches the first sperm that reaches her, especially if she's she likes being out there. If she's with a man that she loves and she's no longer with him, and he's had fertilized her, then that her energy when she creates the egg, when she is actually feeding the eggs with him in her bloodstream, if she marries someone else and gets pregnant by them, that child may end up looking like the first
Like the
man.
X, like the yeah.
Indeed. And that's why a lot of men look in the baby and say, "Well, the baby don't look like me."
Right.
Might be right.
Mm.
It may be your child, but it's what she imprinted
Damn.
because of her love chakra imprinted this man that she really, really loved.
Some powerful stuff tonight, y'all. All right, so Doc, wow. Okay, let's keep this. um, the last question I asked was based on meditation. What I want to ask you
Yeah.
is during prayer we often talk.
Right.
During meditation we often listen. What I want to ask you, Doc, is it like this when we go outside in nature and we see the sun and the moon? Are we supposed to talk to the sun and listen to the moon? Because the moon, they like listening is often representative of a feminine trait, and then like the moon is feminine and the sun is masculine. Should we The same way we talk during prayer and listen during meditation, should we talk to the sun and listen to the moon to get optimal results for mental sorcery?
Let me ask you a question. Between men and women, who talks the most?
women talk.
There you go.
Gossip. They be on the phone all day. Blah
Listen,
blah 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 blah.
I
Be like, what the
mean,
fuck
I
are you
mean,
talking about now?
listen,
Blah
that,
blah blah
yeah,
blah blah. Oh
you
man.
gotta love it. I just love it because my wife, she comes out talking, and she's talking, and I'm trying to listen with one ear while I'm doing what I'm doing, and actually carry on a conversation with you, and you don't know it, and then it's like what Bill Burr says. You're hearing a and then wait, then he goes. It says, "Oh, well, that was a question." I didn't.
Doc, you gonna get in trouble. Doc, you gonna get
I've always been in trouble. I've been in trouble from the time I wrote The Wounded Womb. But I say to you
oh
that
shit.
women are the communicators. Children learn
Man.
language from women.
Oh
In
man.
fact, that's why African babies were so far advanced.
Oh
That
man.
the Europeans couldn't understand why the
Ooh.
children in Africa were so
Yeah.
advanced because they stayed next to their mothers. And hang on a second.
All right, Doc. It's all right.
Yeah, Bree, I'm doing an interview. I'll talk with you a little later. All right. That was the woman who helps to run our university.
Okay.
What I was saying to you is that there is, when women have the babies on their back, the baby's ears are right next to the mother's chest, or they're right next to the mother's back, and the mother is talking, and the child is listening, and they're seeing the reactions of other people and what it is that she's. So the more she talks, the more the child learns to talk. You see, and they're the ones that have to do with the patients, and they talk and they say certain things, and then the children are the ones that listen to mom, and mom talks and blah. With men, we're right to the point. Do this, do that. Don't do this, don't do that. That's what we're about, and it's good that way, and that's why it's very difficult when a woman wants to talk to you. It's very difficult because women talk sometimes to find out what to talk about. Women speak to find out what they want to talk about. Now, I know that older women get angry and say, well, that doesn't sound like me. And well, women like to talk to because communication is a bonding ritual with women. With us, we do things. Men like to play basketball. If we want to talk things out, we're talking out doing something. We're kicking it live, and we get to the point, yeah, that sounded wrong, man. Okay, you ever tried this? Yeah, I did. Okay, cool. Let's move to the next thing. But if you're listening to your woman and she's talking, and you over there as a problem solver, you trying to solve a problem, and she get pissed with you because you over there telling, I don't need all of this. Just tell me what's wrong. And right. So there, communication is real different.
But Doc, so Doc, in terms of the sun and the moon, should we communicate differently?
Right. So okay, let's talk with that.
Yeah.
If you want to talk with the sun, then make it brief.
Mm-hmm.
But talking to the moon, you'll get more answers.
Okay.
Because the Most High will be brief with you when it comes to the sun. All right. Now, at night, when you do most of your magic, that's when the moon is strong.
Right.
Okay. So if you know what to do with the nighttime, because that's when the sun is down, when the father energy that feeds everything else is no longer in the sky, the mother energy that nurtures your thoughts and nurtures what's necessary for you to bring forth from your thinking. That's why most of the magic is done at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yes. Indeed, Doc. Indeed. Hey, Doc, I want to ask you in terms of we live in a world today dominated by social media and the internet, and there's so much information. Doc, you remember what we had to do back in the day? You're older than me, Doc. you had to go to the library and you had to go through
Oh yeah.
extreme measures to get small bits of information. So let me ask you about religion versus what we're experiencing. A lot of people are abandoning religion today, abandoning religion in today's society, and because of the internet and this spirituality all over that they could just find for themselves on the internet. I want to ask you, what do you think is more beneficial for the masses? If you are, let's say, a king in Kemet or whatever civilization, and you could have the internet where people have open access to spirituality, Doc, and you got Hermeticism over here, Judaism over here, Buddhism over here, Confucianism over here, all quantum physics over here, Christianity. You have everything available to you on the internet, information and misinformation. Or you can have the option to have a society where you have religion as the main prominent figures, and the people that's involved in religion are restricted to a certain school of thought. They don't really go outside of that school of thought. They focus on that school of thought. One is where you're focused on the school of thought and you're taught to master that particular school of thought. One where there's just an open sea and it's easy, Doc, to get lost in the source because there's so much information overload. What would you prefer your masses to be involved in, Doc? The internet where there's just abundance of information and they could just decide for themselves, or religion where they're forced to hone in on a particular school of thought, Doc? What do you think is better for the masses, Doc?
That's interesting because you've hit it on the head
Yes.
that what religion does is relegates thought,
Yeah.
and what the internet does is tells you to think what you want to think.
Mhm.
The problem is remember I told you that those who wanted to control society had to choose what particular method they were going to use for control.
Mm.
They were saying, okay, should we burn all the books?
Mhm.
Well, that would just force them to go underground and they could teach from underground. The second choice was, why don't we just give them everything at once?
Mm.
Both are a form of confusion,
Yeah.
you see?
Yeah.
And that's where people like yourself and myself and all the brothers and sisters who are doing the work, that's where we become the decipherers. We take both sides of the equation. One is dealing from the right side of the brain, which is religion,
Mhm.
and you're dealing with the internet, which is the left side of the brain, which is articulation and looking for reason and logic and the whole nine yards. What we've done back in the day when I started the metaphysical underground was to tell people that the logic of religion and the spirituality of information are one.
Mhm.
You see, the logic of religion needs to be explored, which they don't do. People go on faith, belief, and so forth.
Mhm.
The people who don't believe and would rather know, those people separate themselves from the religious people who have books that pretty much articulates in their own language what it is that the people who are dealing with truth and want to deal with logic and reasoning, they're looking for it. But there are scribes and writers who, with very fancy language, are saying the very same things, but using personalities, situations, and making it into a storybook form. So
Mhm.
religion is the storying, or the, how do I say it, is the Hans Christian Andersen of logic and reasoning, where we think that these two are distinct from one another, and they're not.
Mhm.
What I said I wanted to do was to create the logic of what religion really meant and what the ancestors, the masters, were actually saying when they wrote about certain things in this Bible, which, if you don't know it, it just becomes not the Holy Bible, but the Holy Babel.
Mhm.
And pretty much, you just, the first time, this funny thing, the first book that was Bible was called the Sun Book.
Mhm.
It was called the Helios Biblios.
Mhm. Right.
And the
Okay.
Helios Biblios was the book of the sun, the SUN. But religion took that science, which is what I call astrotheological science or astrotheology,
Mm-hmm.
and they made it into a storybook form. They started putting characters like the name Jesus, Adam and Eve, and all these different names for forces that are within us, forces that are within nature. We anthropomorphized science
Mm.
into a storybook form, which simpler minds, like those Europeans who picked up on that, simple minds began to think that somebody like the name of Jesus, who was the SON of God, was actually didn't know that on the logical side, when you deciphered it properly, was the SUN of God. And what they did was our ancestors were to take the traveling of the sun as it circled above us and gave us certain modes and moods and different expressions. And then we just began to use that as the trials of Hercules. We began using that as the world underground with Asar, using the netherworld to come up and be raised by his son. All of this is, again, religion is the simplification of science, spiritual science for the masses.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get them to act a certain way so that those actions you teach them come into conjunction with the balance of nature. That's all gone because we never teach it from that perspective. We have
Right.
jackasses that are looking for Jesus and people who are actually over there in a place called Judea, which is right now turned into Palestine, which is now called Israel, and they're fighting over there, killing, murdering, and genociding people over what? A story about Jews? Jews essentially in the Bible were not actual people. EU or Euda. There was no J at that time. So what I'm saying to you as far as religion versus science is concerned, we have taken science from the observation of nature and we've made it into a storybook form
Mm-hmm.
so that it would become more interesting.
Mm.
That's all.
Indeed.
Okay?
Doc, no, indeed, Doc. I got about 50. We got about 15 more minutes left. I want you to I know you have an announcement with Juice Plus, so I definitely want you to get to that.
Okay, yeah.
What I want to ask you, right? One question before you get to that announcement is, if we're talking about mental sorcery,
Yeah.
some people think about words like voodoo and things like that, and they think about people causing harm to them. And people often say in the spiritual community, if you have a strong will or a strong mind, nobody could cause harm to you. What I want to ask you is, okay, so if you have a strong will, you have a strong mind, nobody could cause harm to you or do magic on you, but does that also make it hard for you to do magic on yourself? Because your mind is so strong, I can't even reprogram myself because I don't even believe the new shit that I'm learning because my mind is so stuck on what it's stuck on because my mind is so stubborn and my mind can't be reprogrammed. That a strong mind also a weak mind in the same sense because you can't even reprogram your own self.
Well, that's a beautiful question. What you're looking at essentially is intention. Why
Mm-hmm.
would I allow something that I would never do to others? If someone is attempting to do that to me, why would I put greater importance on the fact that I wouldn't do that and put greater importance because somebody else tried to do that?
Mm-hmm.
It would depend on how I look at what that person's efforts are and what their intentions are and what they wish to accomplish. They
Mm-hmm.
want to do me harm. All I do is Tai Chi that. There's mental Tai Chi as well as physical Tai Chi. And
Mm.
Tai Chi just uses energy against that person.
Wow.
If you're coming at me with
Mm-hmm.
a specific type of energy, you're going to meet up with a shield and a force field that's going to cause that to bounce right back to you immediately.
Right.
Because my power and what I've come to believe, and the only way belief actually comes is after you've gone 360 with whatever it is that you focused on. You
Right.
know that you don't have to believe in the fact that the seasons come and go and that there's no real death. A tree that dies in the winter comes back in the spring.
Mhm.
So we understand that there's a cycle to everything, and so there's a cycle to energy as well. You bring that energy at me with the
Mhm.
intention of doing harm, then that means that harm is your intention towards me, and I don't receive that intention, even though I may feel what it is that you have done, unless it's just physical. You come up there and try to hit me upside the head. There's a
Right.
difference. But if you're working in the spiritual realm, you got problems because essentially all of what I have and what I've built my own spiritual self up to become,
Mhm.
you're going to be damaged by what you do to yourself.
Mhm.
Because remember, all of what you put out is your child. If you want to put out a child of hate and think
Mhm.
that child is going to affect me, that child's going to come running back to you, and you're going to have to deal with that spoiled brat that you try to put out there on the.
Woo, that spoiled brat. Talk to him, Doc. Doc, on that, tell him about your Juice Plus announcement. What you got
Oh
going on
yeah,
now?
Mama told me to do this.
Yeah, yes.
There's a superfood powder. Everybody was having problems with the capsules, the superfood powder. And if you want to get it, so you just have to tear it off and pour it in there into some water or into whatever it is that you drink. Then you need to go up to what she said to go to Valentine, my name. Just put this down. Valentine, Valentine, the number one dot juiceplus.com. Ha! You got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Valentine1.juiceplus.com.
Uh-huh.
And just go ahead and purchase it from there. It's making it's allowing you to take it much easier, and it's much sweet. It tastes real good. And I mean, a lot of people say, well, oh, I get all my vitamins. I'm a vegan. No, vegans sometimes the kind of food that they're serving to people right now, as far as vegans are concerned, it doesn't have the same nutrient content. This is super packed full. This is what keeps me going. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I'm in my mid 70s now. You understand? And I'm ready to, shoot. I can go ahead. I can talk for 11 hours.
Yeah.
This is what does it for me. And I want to extend that to you all. Go up there to valentine1.juiceplus.com and just order up your superfood. And if you want more information about that, text my wife at 646 510-6702. Again, 646-510-6702, and tell her you'd like more information about it, and
Mm-hmm.
if you want to, to purchase it and so forth. But this has been so convenient for me. I think that this is. I mean, you know me. I don't like to sell anything, but Mama told me try this. I did for the last few days, and whoo wee, I'm loving
Excellent.
it.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Doc,
thank you for
Doc,
that.
Doc, before we get out of here, Doc, I know
Yeah,
you touched on this in the very beginning of the show, but because it's a recent news story and it's dominating social media right now for those that are into like Kemet, could you touch on? And I know you've dealt with this for the past few decades.
yeah,
This question right here. Ask Doc about the new discovered spiral shaped cylindrical structure stretching 200 feet down beneath the Great Pyramids of Giza. Could you touch on that? Close out the show. What the hell is going on in the news, Doc? They're like, this is big. This is Doc. Listen, hold up, Doc. Hold up. Before you, they
yeah,
said this could change everything, Doc.
yeah,
The lidar technology and this thing goes deep underground, Doc. The
yeah,
coils. Talk
yeah.
to us, Doc. Please let us know what's going on.
Well, you know that everything they on Earth. Remember, I told you the deeper they dig for evidence of their existence, the blacker the planet gets.
Yeah.
Well, it's getting blacker and blacker because they even got a white man who's married to a black woman coming out and talking about all of what you just heard. We talked about this, decades ago, that there was an underground stream that they used to use, and that the ones who got down there, this white boy got down into the under the ground, and of course they got rid of him. And what happened was he saw statues of Heru, he saw statues of Jehudi, and they were like 3 and 4 stories high, and that there was a river of water that you could actually canoe along the underground. and all. And this is all underneath the Great Pyramid of Giza. And if they have the spark, the coils, that was the snake, because everything was dealing with Kundalini force. We spoke about the fact that the pyramid itself, without the capstone, of course, is not working. But the pyramid, the so-called pyramid, or the way it was shaped, it was covered with alabaster. The alabaster and the covering was all ripped apart when the people dealing with Islam began using most of that stuff to build their mosques with, and the Christians were snatching them to build a church with. But the pyramid was a gigantic capacitor, and that capacitor was used to balance the forces that had actually erupted and turned, what do you call it, to Atlantis, which was in Africa. It turned Atlantis and that area there in completely into sand, because the Atlanteans were just scientists without spirituality, and they ruined their own space.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what happened is, that's why you read the ancient texts that the Kemites hated the Atlanteans, because after they destroyed what they did, they tried to get into Kemet as refugees. And most people don't know these little stories that went on back in the past, because we're waiting around for this European to tell us all about it. But as far as what's going on underground, you're going to be seeing, and wait till you see what they find down in the ocean. Wait till you start finding out what's going on as they burrow past the earth. They got maglabs that go under the ocean right now. They have trains that can actually travel at almost the speed of sound underground right now. They know what time it is, and people know, those people who are there who want to get rid of the people on the surface, they know what time it is, because they want to come up from down underneath and live on the surface again. But that's why you're going to see that there's going to be I don't know if I should say this, but
Please say it. Please say it.
Well, your boy Klaus Schwab is celebrating the fact that by the end of this year, he's claiming that over 3 billion people would be eliminated.
Yikes. Oh my God.
And, again, I don't have enough of a platform to actually help people say these and get this information, because information is coming to me wholesale.
You might have to do another webinar. You might have to do another webinar, Doc.
Yeah, I know, but that just taxes me to no end, because then it takes 3 months, and by the time I'm ready to do it, there's a whole other mess that's getting ready to happen. If you know what, pretty soon, my webinar archive. I know I've been promising it. Forgive me, people. I can't get it out there yet, but Webinar Archive is going to have all of my previous webinars where you can actually stream them. And I'm going to make that announcement. And of course, when we come on to your show and Brother King Simon and everyone else, I'm going to talk about the fact that Webinar Archive has information that I've gotten from way back when. And I keep getting from my students and people saying, hey, Dr. V, here's what you said 20 years ago. Here's what you said 10 years ago. I'm very sad that I can't put it out there, because a lot of these Europeans are coming up with stuff that we've been talking about for the last 30 years, and it's all new, and our young people think they're the ones who actually came out with all this information.
Yeah.
We didn't. And it's frustrating, because I could always try, to those who reached out to me, I can direct them to the original information. But again, with all the information that you have and the contacts you have with people, I'm so happy that you're still in the works. You, Brother King Simon, shout out to Brother King Simon, shout out to Brother Hank, and to everybody else who's actually doing that work, that you need to keep proliferating, because they're going to try to shut this down too. You don't know what they have planned for the future. Anyway, just be prepared. And if you're on the blockchain and you got any crypto, get it off the blockchain right now. If you're on Binance, if you're on any of the other ones, What? Let me just give them this secret real quick for people.
Yeah.
DeFi or
The decentralized finance.
DeFi, right? Decentralized finance. Do you know that when they get a coin, they get it 30% sooner than the direct, or what do you call it? Direct finance.
Right.
Uh, um, you know what
Like
I'm talking
like
about.
um
Yeah, like these platforms.
the other play. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
what Binance does is
Yeah.
holds off on actually putting, say, a new coin on until it gets to a point where it's like $3 or $4. But on the DeFi, it's like less than a penny. And on DeFi, it grows to about, I would say, $4, $5, $6.
Mm-hmm.
That's when Binance puts it on, because after it hits that, it begins to depreciate. So Binance gets you to come in at a time when they hit, they say, oh man, this thing is $3, $4. It's going boom. By that time, it already exhausts and everybody's taking that, and you don't have to wait again
Right, right,
another 30% longer until it begins to build back up. So
right.
DeFi is the place where you got to be doing most of your work on here. You can't be doing it on the mundane platforms that they got. Binance, all these places. There's going to be one of them is going to end up being the next um, FTX.
Mm,
So get your stuff off of there now
mm,
and get it onto a cold wallet,
mm-hmm.
and make sure that you got you a cold wallet and put it to the side so that you can make sure protect your future for your children, and get into the DeFi, because they're getting ready to shut things down. You watch.
Mm,
Now XRP now, yeah, I know you got yours.
mm,
Looks like Trump signed off on it, and that they're getting ready to use it as the staple behind the dollar, to make sure it has some kind of leverage, and they may even back it by gold.
mm.
So think about that as soon as you can. Okay.
Doc, listen,
Yeah.
I appreciate we got about 2,400 people that's still hanging on with us after 2 hours. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Let me show y'all this. Make sure y'all go to Dr. Valentine's metaphysical website for his school, uksnow.org. You can also support him via PayPal, kemitearth@gmail.com.
Yeah.
He has the email, he has the 1-800 number, as well as the information to get the Juice Plus that he just showed, the
Yeah.
superfood. You can go to Valentine1.juiceplus.com.
Yes.
King Simon has been sharing it the entire show, family. Make sure you support this brother right here. He has been a gem to us for years. Like he said, the things that they are now discovering, we've been heard that from Doc.
Yeah.
We've been heard that from Delbert Blair. We've been heard that from Bobby Heaven. So we gotta honor these elders for putting us on game way before mainstream act like, oh my God, look what we oh my God, look what we discovered now. They're desperate. They are extremely desperate, and they're gonna do desperate things. Desperate people do desperate things. Gotta listen to Doc. Go ahead. What you say, Doc?
I just wanted to say, no, I'm just pointing you out, brother. I'm just shouting you out for all of what you're saying, what you're doing. You, Brother King, I'm just loving both of you all, your family. When things happen, I want to bring us all together and just have this family loving gathering. When the
Indeed.
time comes, I want to invite you all so we can sit down together and break bread.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Man. Hey Doc, I love this show. I know the family's this one's gonna resonate with them heavy. We're magicians at heart, man. This is in our nature. It's not nothing supernatural. It's natural for us. We just we forgot who we were, but we're remembering because of brothers like you. And I want to thank you, my brother. May the Creator bless you and your family. And I look forward to talking to you soon, Doc.
Indeed. Looking
Okay.
forward.
All right, Doc. I'll see you soon.
Much
Peace,
love.
my brother. Peace.